So then that brings up the next question. Should this team continue to throw more than run? And I think this is interesting because there was a stat that was thrown out by my guy Kevin on Sunday, maybe it was Monday, where he broke down the games where Jimmy had actually thrown more than they had ran the ball. And I think his record in those games was like 8-13 when they threw more than they ran. So last night would have been a good, right? The 9th win. But when they ran more than they threw, that's where his winning record really came into play. It was like 25-1 or something crazy like that. So this is an interesting question. And I think the statistics say no, they shouldn't continue to throw more. But I might go in a different direction on this. What are your thoughts with this one?
My answer is gonna be the most terrible answer that I always hear, but I'm gonna use it as often as possible. The answer is yes and no. And what I mean by that is
great. Thanks for that.
Yes and no. I hate when people say that, so I try to use it as much as possible. But yes and no. And why I say that, Jesse, is because it's gonna be contingent on the type of throws that we're talking about. If this is like Jimmy has to throw down the field more than the running attempts, then my answer is not only just no, it's hell to the no, right? We don't want the game on Jimmy's arm in that way. But like you mentioned, if these throws are stretched horizontally and they're safe throws, and they're safe because Jimmy does get the ball out of his hands quickly, their passes to sure-handed receivers and like Adebo, Ayuk, where they can, utilize their yards after the catch prowess. To me, yeah, especially because, Jeff Wilson Jr. is really good at breaking a game, it seems like, right? We've seen him have, at least one really nice run per game, it seems like. But overall, it's still not like the consistent type of rushing attack that we've seen or are being accustomed to with an Elijah Mitchell, with the Raheem Mostert in past years. So if we can't manufacture yards through the rush, I'm okay with manufacturing them through the wide receiver screens. And to me, that's a safe pass. It's pretty much like a run, but it just goes under the pass statistics. So in that case, I'd say, yeah, let's do it. As long as you're getting the ball into your playmaker's hands as often as possible, to me, that's a winning recipe.
Yeah, for sure. And Diego says we all expect every quarterback to be Alex Smith and not commit turnovers. And I disagree. I think we don't expect every quarterback to be that. Like if we have a true gunslinger at quarterback, a guy who can make all the throws and is going to risk it all for the biscuit and is going to throw some turnovers here or there, but is also going to be the reason that, you go and win games because he's throwing for 400 yards and just dropping dimes 30, 40 yards down the field on, a pretty regular basis. Sure. Like, Herbert or what have you. Herbert, Allen, some of those guys that can, Mahomes, some of those guys that can do that. But if you're labeled as a game manager and that's your skill set, then I do expect you to not commit many turnovers. I don't mind you having 22 touchdown passes in a season if it's accompanied by 7 interceptions. But when you have 22 touchdown passes in a season and you have 18 total turnovers,
right.
Where's the upside, right? Like, you got to give me one or the other. You either got to really protect the ball if you're not going to give me the 30, 40 touchdown passes in a season, or you can give me the 40 touchdown passes and I'll take the 20 turnovers, but you can't be neither. So Jimmy falls in that game manager skill set. So I would expect and hope for less turnovers. So yeah, for Jimmy, that is my expectation. That's not my expectation for Matthew Stafford, right? Or whatever. They're just different players. So, but I agree with you. To me, I don't mind throwing the ball 30 times a game if 18 are near the line of scrimmage out in the perimeter, because that is an extension of the run. I look at that as a run play, essentially, right? I know it counts as a pass, but when you literally are taking the snap and you're turning and firing immediately down the line of scrimmage, if it's a half a yard back, that's a run play. I look at that as an extension of the run. And right now, they don't have the running back that you can just throw those tosses to that's going to get outside the tackles and make teams pay, they can make you pay between the tackles. But the way that you can kind of circumvent that and overcome that is to get things outside the numbers is by throwing it down the line of scrimmage and doing it very quickly. And that is something that Jimmy can do. It's something that Jimmy does well. And it's an extension to me of the run game. So 100%. I have the number of runs becomes less important if, to your point, those are the types of throws that we're getting. Right. You
and it also
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying you can't have 30 throws in a game and half of them are 10 yards down the field. No, that's not going to win a lot of games with this quarterback, right? So
for sure. And with the offensive line that, many say is not necessarily, as good as people want it to be, you're protecting that. I think it's great in the sense that you're taking the ball out of the position of the weakest points of your offense, which is the offensive line, maybe the quarterback, and you're putting it in the hands very quickly of the strengths of your offense, which is guys like Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Juszczyk, whatever the case may be, right? So for me, absolutely, I wouldn't be mad if that's the game plan moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. Striptease Trey, that's actually a pretty funny name. As much as I hate to admit it, this team is just better suited for Jimmy. I truly believe the Niners are 1-3 with Trey right now. Jimmy and Debo complement each other. This team has a legit shot if healthy. I don't know. I mean, that's. Listen, I can't tell you you're wrong because none of us know. I mean, none of us know. Some people think that Jimmy would have won the Bears game. I don't think so, but some people believe that. I think Trey would have won the Broncos game, but some people don't believe that. So there's no way of knowing. I respect your opinion. I think some of the skill sets of the players, I will agree with you there, might be better suited for this type of game. But I also think Brandon Ayuk really is kind of being held back by this style of game. I do. I think that Ayuk certainly is a guy that can get open downfield. He proves it over and over. If you're a member of the channel, you can actually go back. I believe that it's still on there, the NFC Championship game, where I broke down the film and how open Ayuk was on a regular basis. If they had just picked on that second corner and thrown it to Ayuk 15 times that game, Ayuk has 150 plus yards receiving and they win that game going away. I genuinely believe that. But Jimmy can't tap into that skill set. And so I think it goes both ways. But I appreciate the super chat and I appreciate the opinion.
One thing on this one is, sorry, before you jump to the other one.
Yeah, you're good.
Jimmy has a quicker release than Trey, has shown to be a little more accurate in the short passing as of now. But there's no comparison in how much Trey affects the running game. The rushing attack was so much better with Trey, even in the game in a quarter that we got to see him in. In that first two drives that he had before he got injured, they were already at 100 yards rushing. So the rushing attack would be insane with Trey healthy, but Jimmy makes up for it in the passes and things like that. So it's a trade-off, whatever you want to see as far as, how you want the offense to look.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point, right? Like we just talked about where Jimmy is effective in throwing those quick passes down the sideline. That's not Trey's strength. Like that is something that he needs to work on. And so they can use that as an extension of the run game to where you probably couldn't do that with Trey, but you didn't necessarily need to do that because you were just running the ball good, right? Because Trey does open those things up. And then you got the downfield passing, but then you've got the intermediate and in the middle. But I get it. I understand. I really could see either side. I respect the opinion. Gray Fox says, I expect this team to destroy Carolina and Atlanta. And let me tell you something. If you don't think this team has the Chiefs game circled on the calendars, think again. They're coming for payback and will embarrass the Chiefs. Love the pod, Jay Incident. Hey, thank you, Gray Fox, man. That's awesome. That's I really appreciate you. That is a big one. I appreciate you. In fact, I haven't been doing it, but I think you deserve it.
He deserves it.
You deserve it. I'm showing you love, man. I appreciate you, Gray Fox. I do agree with you to a certain extent here. I certainly think this game is circled for sure. And I'm going to point to that and back that up by saying I think there's a reason that Trent Williams did not go on IR. And Kyle Shanahan keeps saying 4 to 6 weeks, maybe sooner, 4 to 6 weeks. Well, that 4-week mark for Trent Williams is the Chiefs game. I'd be shocked if he doesn't suit up for that one. I really would. So I agree with you on that one. Thank you so much, Gray Fox. Really appreciate it. Okay.